Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Shem Sharp Thumb, Yahweh Shemar Thumb Bashem Yahushua, Preaching Officer 1000 Yadiah. I'm covering the class this Wednesday for Preaching Officer 1000 Don Yalla. Don Yalla will be back next Wednesday, rocking and rolling. And now, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, let's get it rocking. This is the Wednesday night biblical law class. Now, if you have any questions, you know what I mean? Tonight I'll be answering your questions. Now, why is the law important? Why? The law, statutes, and commandments are important, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, because our God gave them to us. Right. You have to understand, you know what I mean, as the Lord's chosen people, because that black man and woman, you know what I mean, of the West Indian islands, of Haiti, and of the Americas, we are the real ethnic and biblical Jews of antiquity, meaning we're the Jews of old. Latino man and woman, Mexican man and woman, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Brazilian, El Salvadorian, Panamanian man and woman, you are, you know what I mean, are Israelites. First Nation man and woman, the North American Indian and the Seminole Indian, you are Israelites, man. We're the real Jews, meaning we have rules that we have to live by, guidelines, meaning this. We have the law. The problem is, you know what I mean, today, our people are a lawless people, where you feel as though you don't have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments that our God set apart for us, because the Lord did not give this law to everyone. He only gave it to us. If I could, let me get Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 6. Because one of the biggest misconceptions, you know what I mean, that we have, that being in the Christian church and the Muslim mosque, that we don't have to keep the law, that we can just do whatever we want. You know, we covered by grace, and we're gonna go over that tonight as well. We'll talk about Cardi B, her fighting her, you know what I mean, the sister, you know what I mean, that's trying to battle her demons. Touch on possibly Meg Thee Stallion. There's a couple other things that's going on in the news tonight, but preferably we'll talk about these laws, statutes, and commandments, and why we have to keep them. More importantly, man, we got to keep these laws because our God told us to. Now, if I could, let me get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8 and verse 6.
Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8 and verse 6. Mm-hmm. Therefore, thou shalt keep the commandments.
We shall do what?
Keep the commandments.
We have to keep the commandments. Therefore, thou shalt keep the commandments. Meaning, we have to keep these commandments that our God gave us. Meaning, we can't eat shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster. You can't be a whore or a whoremonger. We got to do all 600 plus laws that the Lord gave us. It says, therefore, thou shalt keep the commandments. Read on.
Of the Lord thy God.
Of the Lord thy God. Meaning the Lord thy God, meaning our power, our God, Yahweh in the Hebrew, man. He gave us statutes. He gave us commandments. He gave us the law. And the law has been around a long time, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman. Adam understood and knew that he had laws that the Lord gave him. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. I mean, we have to realize, man, that we have to obey the Most High. And the fact that we disobey the Lord is why we're in this condition right now. We're in this condition in America. We're in hell right now because hell is a condition. Hell is not some little fiery underground that you go to when you die, some little purgatory where you're getting poked by some oppressor in red or pink pantyhose. No, hell is North Philly. Hell is Southwest Philly. West Philly. Hell is Harlem. Hell is, Los Angeles, Detroit. Flint, Michigan. We are in this condition because we disobeyed our God by not keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments. But our God said, therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God. Read on.
To walk in his ways.
To walk in his ways. What does it mean to walk in his ways? To walk in the Lord's ways is to do what the Lord said to do, to be obedient. The Lord tells us, man, that crab is unlawful, that shrimp is unlawful, that pork is an abomination to us, man. We have to understand that and cut those things out. Right. Meaning this, you gotta stop murdering your baby sister. Brother, you gotta stop murdering your brother and hating your brother and your sister in your mind. Right. As the Lord said, thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God to walk in his ways. That's what it means to walk in the Lord's ways. Too many of our people think, oh, I'm in the Christian church, I'm saved. That is an arrogant thing to say. Who the hell do you think you are? And you're quick to tell somebody that they're a sinner. Big shout out to Zarwai, because Officer Zarwai bring this out all the time. The Christian church is quick to be like, oh, you're a sinner, you're going to hell. Not even understanding what sin is. Right. They have no clue what sin actually is. Meaning to walk in his ways and to fear him. To fear the Lord, man, like it says in Proverbs, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Right. You think you got knowledge, you got wisdom. Understand this, man. Real knowledge and wisdom is understanding this, that our God is to be feared. to do what our God said to do. The problem is in the Christian church, you're quick to call somebody else a sinner, but you probably don't even know what sin is. You have no idea what sin is. And if I could, let me get first, if I may, right? Let me get the book of Romans. Take me to the book of Romans, right? 6 and verse 23.
Okay.
Take me there first. No. As a matter of fact, go to 1 John 3 and 4. Here's the thing, right? I want you to understand what sin is first. You need to understand what sin actually is. Because too many of our people in the Christian church is calling somebody else out on being a sinner when they're sinners as well. When the thing is, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, today and tonight in this biblical law class under the I.S.U.P.K. under command of GEN.YAHANNA, you're going to understand what sin is. Now, if I could, let me get 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4.
Okay. This is the book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law.
Sin is what?
Whosoever committeth sin.
Whosoever committeth sin. Meaning black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, if you commit sin, you do what?
Transgresseth also the law.
You transgresseth also the law. Meaning this. For sin is transgression of the law. I believe that's the next verse. Read it.
For sin is the transgression of the law.
Sin is doing what God said not to do.
Right.
That's it. God said don't eat pork. You eat pork, you sinning. God said don't be a whore, black woman, Latino woman, First Nation woman. Guess what? You be it anyway. That's sinning against God. God said, to love thy brother as thyself, but you kill your brother and hate your brother in your mind, black man, Latino man, First Nation man. You are transgressing God's law. That is what sin is. That's what sin is. And it's important for our people to understand this because you have no idea and you're calling somebody else a sinner when you're sinning, when the goal is to stop. And understand this, we're going to go over that too. You can stop. It is not impossible. It is not impossible. Christians love to say, well, no man is perfect. Every man fell short. So you can miss me with that. Christ said, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. And being perfect is keeping the law. Right. That's what it means to be perfect. What it means this, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, you cut yourself short. You do. You cut yourself short. And you know how you do it? You cut yourself short, right? Because you think it's impossible to stop smoking weed. And yes, smoking anything is a sin. You are not supposed to put nothing to your lips and smoke it. Right. And I don't care how good weed makes you think you feel. Smoking weed, smoking tobacco is a sin against God. Smoking crack, smoking anything I buy is a sin. Right. And I got the precepts if you want to try me. I know some of y'all fake Israelites think it's all right, to go ahead and smoke your little weed, your little marijuana. And the Lord said that is a sin. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. For sin is transgression of the law. And what we have to realize as the Lord's chosen people, right? God's law, statutes, and commandments have not gone nowhere. Right. They have not. See, the thing is, man, a lot of our people claim to know the Lord, right? I hear y'all in the Christian church. I hear you. I know God. Some of you, listen, your pastor knows God personally, even though he's molesting kids, which is a sin. Sleeping with another man's wife, which is another sin. Adding sin to sin, I buy. Right. But you want to claim you know God. You know how you know the Most High? Let me go to 1 John chapter 2 and verse 3, I buy. Because this is what we have to realize as the Lord's chosen people. Because our people believe you can have a relationship with God while doing everything the Lord said not to do. And you got to realize, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, that arrogance of our people needs to cease. It needs to stop. Because the Lord does not hear you. He does not hear you when you talking that garbage, man, thinking it's all right, that you could be a whore and abort your baby, and God still loves you? You mean to tell me you can be an evil, wicked brother selling drugs to your people, murdering your people, and you think God still loves you? Come on, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. You got to realize this, man. We got to realize that this is how you know the Lord. This is how you understand and can tell if the Lord, you know what I mean, is with you. I'm going to tell you right now, if you ain't with the Israelite school of U.P.K, the Lord ain't with you, man.
Right.
The Lord ain't with you. The Lord is trying to tell you, the Lord is using the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, under Commander General Yohanna, to wake our people up.
That's right.
To wake our people up, because you think you woke. You think you got this higher knowledge and understanding while high out your goddamn mind. You think, you know what I mean, that God is with you while you wearing them nappy dreadlocks, thinking it's all right to masquerade in purple, getting your lineups and your shape-ups, and that's a sin against God too.
Right.
All of that is sinning against the Most High. Well, you have to get yourself together. That's why it's important, man, and I implore you, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman. As a matter of fact, I beseech you. You have to come back into this body, man, and learn. Learn. Tune in online if you can't make it to your zone and to your classes physically, man. Because too many of our people think that they know God while doing everything God said not to do. And here we're going to dispel that dogma, that Christianity. Let me get 1 John chapter 2 and verse 3, brother, for sure. Again, if y'all got any questions, type them in the chat. It's the Wednesday night biblical law class. I'm priest and officer of 1,000 Yedaya. I'll be answering your questions. But go ahead, I-Bod.
This is the book of 1 John, chapter 2, and verse 3.
Here we go.
And hereby we do know that we know him.
Here we go. It says here in 1 John, hereby we know that we know him. This is how you know the Lord. Read on.
If we keep his commandments.
Some of his commandments.
If we keep his commandments.
If we keep his commandments. Meaning keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord is key. You can't claim to know God if you ain't doing what the Lord said to do. Right. And it kills me, I-Bod, because this is your preacher every Sunday. Right. Your preacher makes it seem like, yeah, he met God in 1965, right? While he was eating a tuna fish sandwich. Tuna is unlawful, by the way. Right. Tuna is unlawful. I can go into the dietary law if you want me to prove it to you. Because the Lord said, you know what I mean, if you're going to eat of the fish of the water, it has to have fins and scales. Tuna don't have scales. It got fins, but it don't got scales. Right. Your pastor sitting up there eating a tuna fish sandwich, I-Bod, talking about he met God in 1965. Had the Lord been with him, even though he's a homosexual and a child molester and an evil, wicked monster. Right. Telling our people that the law is done away with, and we're going to go into that as well, while telling our people that you still have to pay tithes. Ain't that what Kenneth Copeland said? That devil, the oppressor, talking about don't you stop tithing. I know we got this global pandemic, the coronavirus, but don't you stop tithing. You want to know why? Because the Christian church is adamant on robbing God's chosen people. Once we realize that the only reason and way the Christian church flourishes and functions and makes all of the 800 billion that they made is because of poor and impoverished and stupid blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women. And we stupid, we slow. Because we're people that see that dancing, you see that singing, and you get glory. You think that's glorifying God, and you think Christ is with you. And then some of y'all think Christ is God. And y'all just schizophrenics. Just like, with that belief. Christ is not God. Right. You got the Most High, Yahweh, and then you have our King, Yahweh Shah Mashiach, right, who was born just like every other man. Right. And he was a black man, by the way. You got to understand this. This is how we know that we know God. If we keep his commandments. Now you got to ask yourself this question. Are you keeping the law, statutes, and commandments? I understand this. It is not an easy walk coming into this truth. I'm not saying every brother and sister's walk is the same, but it's the same in this retrospect. You can come in here an evil, wicked bastard and sinner, but you can't remain that way. Right. You're going to have to change. You're going to let that old man die. Let that old woman die. To where so your friends and your family won't recognize you because you'll have a different spirit on you. You have the Holy Spirit on you. You be baptized with fire. That's the fire that Christ was talking about, man. But we have to realize that we have to get baptized and understanding that the law is key and it didn't go nowhere. And this is in the New Testament, right, I-Bod? I was, just talking to my mother. My mother was like, well, you only deal with the Old Testament. Meanwhile, every precept that I threw at her was in the so-called New Testament. Go to show you that you Christians don't even know your Bible or read it. I came here on purpose because a lot of you Christians believe, oh, them crazy niggas on the corner, they talk about this Old Testament stuff. We in New Testament. We what Christ said. Gotta understand, man, Christ increased the law, Bob.
Right.
Christ ain't come to make it easy. Christ made it harder.
Right.
Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. And we still have to keep the commandments. Right. The law ain't done away with. This is in 1 John, the 2nd chapter. It says, and hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. Meaning this, you cannot claim to know God if you don't keep these commandments. Right. You can't. And first of all, why would God want to talk to you anyway? You ever wondered that? You being such an evil, wicked dragon to your husband, he don't even want to talk to you. You think God want to talk to you? You being an evil, wicked monster, selling drugs and killing your own brother, man. You think the Lord want to talk to you? Right. Come on, black man, Latino man, and woman. Now is the time to get right. Read on, I read verse 4.
Okay. Verse 4. He that saith, I know him.
Now, those that say that they know God, because we all know those people. We all got a family member. My mother at home right now claiming that she know God, but she don't keep not one commandment. Read on.
And keepeth not his commandment.
And keepeth not his commandment. You claiming that you know the Lord, but you keepeth not his commandments. Meaning, how the hell can you claim you know God and you ain't keeping his commandments? But now it's saying right here, the Lord saying, he saith, he that saith, I know him and keepeth not his commandments. Read on.
Is a liar.
Is a what?
Liar.
You are a liar if you claim you know God and you don't keep the commandments. So what is it saying, Bob? Sounds to me like Farrakhan is a liar. Right. Sounds to me, you know what I mean, that T.D. Jakes is a liar. That Geno Jennings is a liar. That Pastor Ruff and all of your ministers and your pastors and your imams, they are liars because they don't keep the commandments of God, but they claim they know the Lord. Right. How the hell are you going to claim to know the Lord, right? And you're not doing what the Lord said to do. Who gave you that authority to teach? Who gave? That's the real question. You don't do nothing God says, but you were supposed to be a pastor. You're supposed to be a teacher, you know what I mean, of the Bible, of the Lord's people. That's why the Christian church has failed our people. That's why the Muslim mosque has failed our people. That's why your fake Israelite groups masquerading in purple, hollering at the sisters that are the working girls in clubs. Not gonna call them strippers like Bob, but they might as well be. And some of them are. You hollering at them, talking about you're single, masquerading like your oppressive father. They have failed blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women. Right. This is why you have to leave this rough job of being a priest and prophet of God to the men in the I.S.U.P.K. under Commander General Yahanna. Right. Just leave it to Commander General Yahanna. Just do that. Right. Just turn over all your authority to Commander General Yahanna and everything will be all right. I can speak from experience. My life was in turmoil before I came into this truth. It is, I am astonished that I am not physically dead, I'm not physically dead. But it's because this truth saved my life, and it can save yours as well, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. You gotta let go of that prideful spirit thinking, I know God, because I see it all over social media. Like, why do you think every athlete says, especially of our people, I want to thank God, it was God that I did this? No. That's not true. You worked hard. You worked on your body. You worked on your craft to shoot a jumper or do whatever, hit a tennis ball, whatever. Lord ain't help you with that. Lord did not help you with that, man. You got to realize this, man. You got to turn back and do what God says to do. How the hell are you going to try to say, I want to thank God, but you don't do nothing God says to do? Right. Like the Lord is saying, as a matter of fact, about whole John chapter 9 and verse 31. Whole John chapter 9 and verse 31. Because here's the thing, man. We got to realize as the Lord's chosen people. Because you think you know the Lord while you're being an evil, wicked sinner. And you can't know God if you sinning, man. The Lord ain't going to hear you. I'm going to show you that right now. Go to John chapter 9 and verse 31, I thought.
This book of John, chapter 9, verse 31. Mm-hmm. Now we know that God heareth not sinners.
God heareth not who?
Sinners.
God don't hear sinners, man. It says now that we know that God heareth not sinners. The Lord ain't hearing you if you out here sinning.
Right.
If you out here sinning, man, the Lord ain't trying to hear nothing you got going on, man. It's the same thing, right? Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. You sitting up here thinking, oh man, I know the Lord. I know the Lord with me. God got me. But you doing everything that God said not to do.
Right.
Now we know that the Lord heareth not sinners, man. You got to realize this black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. Read on.
Okay. But if any man be a worshiper of God,
If any man be a worshiper of God, meaning this, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, you want to worship the Most High, you claiming to be a worshiper of the Lord, read on.
and doeth his will,
And doeth his will. Meaning, if you claiming to be a worshiper of God and you doing his will, keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commander General Yohanna, read on.
him he heareth.
Him he heareth. If you doing what the Lord said to do, he'll hear you. He'll hear you. And what you got to realize, man, like especially, give me where it says, I believe it's in Proverbs. Bear with me. His prayer being an abomination.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Proverbs 28 and verse 9. Let me get that. Because here's the thing, right? A lot of our people, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, do not want to hear the law of the Lord. You don't want to hear it. You don't. You think you too good for it. You walk past them crazy niggas in the corner on 15th and Market. 15th and JFK. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, before you get there, right, give me Isaiah 58 and verse 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then give me Isaiah 59 and verse 1. Then we're going to go to Proverbs. If you could, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Realize this, right? A lot of our people see us on them corners. You tune into these classes, but you think, oh man, I don't got to listen to them. It's another way. I saw a soft Israelite group the other day, and I burst out laughing at my slavery out. These niggas going to say, well, you know, them other brothers, the more militant brothers, that be out there, they not wrong. We take a more gentle approach. We take a softer approach, to reach our people. How gay can you be?
Right.
So we here for the effeminate, man. Let me ask you a question. What was the Lord? Does the scripture not say that the Lord is a man of war?
Right.
Does the scripture not say that Christ was an austere man? You know what austere means? Alexa, what is the definition of austere?
The adjective austere is usually defined as severe in manner or appearance, uncompromising, strict, forbidding. For more,
thank you, Alexa. Thank you, Alexa. Stop. That was Christ. That was Yahushua, our King. Strict, uncompromising, hardcore. And you talking about you out here to be gentle and soft, you miss me with that nonsense.
Right.
You miss me with that. Our God Yahweh is a man of war. And for you silly sisters out there talking about God as a black woman. The scripture says the Lord is a man of war. Right. Man of war. And guess what? And we embody that same spirit, man.
Right.
Big shout out, to every brother that ever went through and graduated Hebrew Academy. Rock them covers proudly. Like Badaya out here rocking his cover in 80-degree weather. Because he's a man of war. Just like our God. Christ was uncompromising, strong-willed, unbending. Wasn't trying to hear nothing the Romans had to say. That was our king. He was hardcore. You heard Alexa. You heard what she said about what the definition of austere is. Unbending, uncompromising. Like, goddamn, my God, that's what Christ was. They make it seem like Christ was this soft oppressor that was running around. When Christ was a strong black man that came out there and did what the scripture, Isaiah 58, is getting ready to bring up. Read Isaiah 58 verse 1, I bought.
This book of Isaiah 58, verse 1. Cry out loud.
Do what?
Cry aloud.
Cry aloud. That is what we do every week. We cry aloud. Y'all talking about, why are y'all so loud? Why are you coming across so hard? You got to be softer. You got to be gentler with our people. A lot of times, man, our people need to hear the cold-hearted truth.
Right.
And we have transgressed our God's laws, statutes, and commandments. And we don't spare feelings.
Right.
We do not spare feelings. I remember one time I was having a conversation with the general, man. And he said, "Diane, we politically wrong in America, but we right in the eyes of our God, Yahweh, man.
Right.
We are correct according to our God. So what if America looks at you like you see some crazy nigga extremists on the corner, man? So what? They looked at our king the same way.
Right.
They looked at him the same way. That's why the Lord said in Isaiah 58 and verse 1, cry aloud. You ever wonder why we be on them corners and it seems like these niggas is really disrupting my lunch? I can't enjoy myself. They crying aloud. Damn right. That's what the Lord said to do. To cry aloud. Read on.
Spare not.
Spare not. Meaning spare not your feelings. We don't give a damn if you... Let me preface what I'm getting ready to say. We don't give a damn if we hurt your feelings.
Right.
You want to know why? Because damn your feelings. This is about what the Lord said. It's about what our God said, man. What our King told us to do, man.
Right.
We can give a damn about your feelings and how you feel about it. This is what our God said. And all of y'all claim to be about God and do what the Lord said to do. The Lord says, spare not, meaning spare not their feelings.
Right.
It's a rough one, Bob, because here's the thing. There's one thing I can say in my short time being in the truth, right? No, this is a small one. Nobody wanted to go out there and correct Black and Latina and First Nation women publicly, except for the I.S.U.P.K under command of General Yohanna.
Right.
We're the only ones that go out there and publicly correct our sisters every week and spare not nobody's feelings about it. We're the ones that go out there and correct our people, not just the sisters, the brothers as well. We correct all of Israel, all Blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women. Because our God said, cry aloud, spare not. Meaning, your feelings don't matter when it comes to the will of the Lord, man.
Right.
And doing these laws, statutes, and commandments, forget your feelings. You better get down and do what the Lord said to do. Read on, everybody.
Lift up thy voice like a trumpet.
That's why we lift up our voice like a trumpet, so you can hear us, man. And y'all be trying to drown us out with y'all loudspeakers and the music that y'all be playing. Guess what? You'll never drown out the word of the Lord, man. Because the Lord sent his prophets back in 1969 through the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and we're going to cry aloud and spare not and lift our voices up like a trumpet. Read on.
And shew my people their transgression.
And show my people their transgression. We just went over what transgression is, right? We just went over what sin is. What is the transgression? Why is the Lord saying to show my people their transgression? Because we disobeyed our God by not keeping these law, statutes, and commandments. Read on.
And the house of Jacob their sins.
Who is Jacob? Who is the house of Jacob? We're the house of Jacob, Black man and woman, Latino man and woman, First Nation man and woman. We're the house of Jacob. We're the people right now that walk around without an identity, trying to figure out who we are. Like Black man and woman is sad. You thinking you're African. Like if I have to explain to another brother, I had to come to a revelation. I bought this the other day. The other day of my slavery, I had a horrifying revelation. I said, and I thank the Most High every day that I'm not no goddamn stinking African. But the fact that we have to spend the rest of our lives convincing our people, telling our people through the Bible, God's words, that we're not African. We're not. Our people really believe that they're African. Latino man and woman, First Nation man and woman, you are Israelites, man. You're not some goddamn conquistador. You're not the oppressor. You're not a Spaniard. You got to realize this, man, that for you silly Negroes out there denying our Latino and First Nation brothers and sisters, shame on you, man.
Right.
Shame on every one of you Uncle Tom Negroes that deny our Mexican brothers and sisters, man. And our Puerto Rican and Cuban and Guatemalan and El Salvador and Brazilian brothers and sisters, man. They go through the same oppression that we face every day. Africans don't face the oppression that blacks, Latinos, and First Nations go through. Let me explain something to you. Africans love the oppressor. You think you love the oppressor, black man? Africans love the oppressor. Tell you a small story, man. I remember when that Hamite I can't believe this Hamite's name is Israelite. Israel Badanya, whatever the hell that African's name is. Joe Rogan came out there and was saying the N-word, saying that. And our people, man, was so upset and so beguiled by that nonsense, right? They talking about, oh man, Joe Rogan is wrong. But what did that Hamite Israel Abadani say? He said, Joe Rogan is my nigga. Go to show you that Africans don't love you, man. And you'll never be African. Like this last year, right, Bob? I believe it was 2 years ago. The Africans in China were catching hell by the hand of the Chinese government. The African Union got together and airlifted every African out of China. Black man, when they gonna come and air you out of North Philly? Air you out of Los Angeles? It ain't gonna happen because we're not African. Latino man, First Nation man and woman, you are not children of Cortez. You are not. You don't come from some oppressor. We are the Israelites, the Jews of antiquity, of old. We are the Lord's chosen people. And we have to realize that. That's why we cry aloud, spare not, and lift up our voice like a trumpet and show our people their transgression. We went over with sin is transgression of the law. But we have to realize, Latino man and woman, First Nation man and woman, black man and woman, these laws, statutes, and commandments, man, hold the key to what we have to do. And once we start to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, we will be better off. It starts with taking our minds out of America. Too many of our people get caught up in the riches and lust of the oppressor, where you feel as though that you can live like him. You cannot.
Right.
You want to know why the oppressor can sniff all the cocaine in the world and be Billy the Kid I bought to get in shootouts, and he only gets a slap on the wrist, while you go to jail on a Reggie charge for 3 to 5 years, and then when you get 3 strikes, you out? Because the Lord does not want us smoking weed. The Lord does not want us selling drugs, period, or aborting our babies. Right. That's why we're being punished. Now, before you go to Isaiah 59, give me James chapter 4 and verse 4. Because the problem is our people think you can be in conjunction with America, with the society of the oppressor, and you cannot. If we continue to live by their standard and their lifestyle, my question, is when did the oppressor become the standard of morality? Right. God said pork was an abomination unto us. The oppressor said it's the other white meat. The fact is, and I'm going to tell a small story, about it happened to me today. The Lord said homosexuality is an abomination. You know what I mean? It's punishable by death, and their blood shall be upon them, man. Right. The fact is, in America, we have to accept that society in America. We have to accept the homosexual when God does not accept that lifestyle. I had an oppressor, right, Bob, come to me today. This is a full-grown oppressor man, you know what I mean, with a wig on and surgery done. His chest is bigger than Pamela Anderson's and Dolly Parton's. I lie to you not, I Bob. And got upset with me talking about, can you believe it? Shalom, so y'all and told me, can you believe it? They won't let me use the women's bathroom? I'm sitting here like, Lord, this oppressor came to me and is upset. This grown-ass oppressor man is upset that he can't use the woman's bathroom. And is expecting me to agree with him and be like, man, that's wrong. That's right. I'm just like, I just do my hands up like, that's a rough one, Esau. That's a rough one. That's a rough one. I mean, I'm just trying to unload this water truck I bought. I'm just trying to get the pallets off the truck. I'm just like, I took everything in me not to laugh. But that's the freedom of the oppressor. Right. That's his freedom. We living in his society. We can't live like him, man. That's right. We can't live like the oppressor. And that's why it's so sickening, man, what Dwayne Wade is doing with his family and his son. Got his son masquerading as a girl, messing around with some oppressor girl who's trying to masquerade as a boy. It's confusing as hell. I don't even want to go into it unless y'all ask me to. First, before you go to Isaiah 59, let me get James chapter 4 and verse 4.
Okay. This book, James 4 verse 4. Ye adulterers and adulteresses.
Ye adulterers and adulteresses, read on.
Know ye not that the friendship of the world.
The friendship of the world. The problem is you think you can be friends of the oppressor's world. You think you can prosper and flourish in the oppressor's world. You cannot. You cannot. And let me explain something to everybody real quick, right? If I could. It does not matter how much money you make in the oppressor society.
Right.
Doesn't matter how many degrees you get. Doesn't matter if you move out the ghetto, move out the barrio, move out the reservation. You are still a nigger to the oppressor. And you still sinning against our God by having that mindset, man. Why not get down with the program, with God's program, and be a first-class citizen, man, of God, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman? It says, ye adulterers and ye adulteress. You can't have friendship with the oppressor's world.
Right.
You can't think, and you know what that reminds me of, if I could. Right? Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, I bring this out all the time. You having friendship with the world, because world means age or society. You think it's really you believing that you free, white, and 21. Right. And you're not. You can't live like this oppressor. You can't go up and shoot up an all-white church, and then they take you to Burger King. That sounds obscene, don't it? That sounds asinine, doesn't it? Because you can't get away with that. But the oppressor can go to an all-black and Latino church and murder everybody in there, and they'll take them to Burger King and give them a double Whopper right by with the bacon. That's it. He'll get that. He can go to a movie theater and shoot it up, and plead insanity and sit up in a federal institution where he's playing golf, eating, you know what I mean, three-course meals while we suffer. You cannot have friendship with the oppressor's world. You cannot have friendship with America. That's the problem. That's why we're in this predicament. You know what, we thought we had this same problem in the garden. We thought, right, because Eve, you know what I mean, listening to the oppressor, because that's all the oppressor was, a serpent. Eve was not talking to no goddamn snake. Snakes don't talk.
Right.
Snakes don't talk. Serpents don't talk. Unless they're the oppressor. The oppressor got to Eve. Then she came, told Adam, put him game on it, and now you want to live like these other nations. We wanted to go see what they hitting for. That was to our detriment. Same thing with the Babylonians. We wanted to serve other gods, live like these heathens, accept them, transgress our God and the laws, statutes, and commandments. Then we go into Babylon. Then we with Assyria. Then we're with Greece and the Romans. And before that, the Persian and the Medes after Babylon. Don't you see the trend? Don't you see the pattern? When are we going to break that? That's why the I.S.U.P.K is here. You think having friendship with the world, but this is what friendship with the world actually is. Read on.
Of God. It's enmity with God.
With enmity. It's enmity. What does it mean where it says enmity with God? Friendship of the world is enmity with God. What is enmity? Meaning you are against God. You are an enemy of God if you think you can be friends with America, friends with the oppressor. Read on.
Of God. Whosoever, therefore, will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God.
If you are a friend of America, a friend of Babylon, you are an enemy of God. I'll give you another example. If you feel sorry for the Ukrainians and not for the Mexican man and woman, your goddamn brother and sister, man, you are an enemy of God. If you think that it's all right to abort your baby, you are an enemy of God. If you think it's all right to smoke weed or smoke anything or be a whore or a whoremonger, you are an enemy of God.
Right.
I pray you understand. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. Now, if I could, here's the thing, right? Before we go to Isaiah, let me get what I asked for in Proverbs first. I believe it's Proverbs 28 and verse 9.
Okay.
Let me get that. Because here's the thing, right? You think because you pray while doing every evil act that you could think of, God will hear you. And let me show you why that's garbage. Read what you got.
This is the book of Proverbs, 28, verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law.
Here, listen, if you turn away your ear from hearing the law, right? Meaning this, you see us on the streets teaching the laws, statutes, and commandments, teaching other people their transgression. You turn your ear away from us. Hell, you turned your ear away from this class. Guess what? Not trying to hear what the priest of God has to say. Read it again from the top.
He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination.
If you turn away from hearing what the Lord has to say about these laws, statutes, and commandments, because understand this, if you turn your ear away from hearing the law, because understand this law was given only to blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women. Let me get that in Psalms 147 and verse 19, who the Lord gave this to. He that turneth his ear from hearing the law, even your prayer shall be an abomination. Meaning if you think you could tell, I'm not going to listen to them crazy niggas in the I.S.U.P.K. Who the hell do they think they are? And then you're going to pray to God or something? Your prayer is an abomination to God. That's in the Bible. Because the Lord only gave this law to us. He didn't give it to everybody. We ain't out there to teach the oppressor on them corners. We ain't out there to teach the African or the Asian or the Polynesians and Samoans and Filipinos, no. Or the East Indian or the Arabs. We're teaching our people. Why? Because who is it given to? Let me get that out, Bob.
Okay. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob.
He showeth his word unto Jacob. God showed his word to blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women, and nobody else, and no one else. Read on.
Okay. His statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
His statutes and his what?
Judgments unto Israel.
His statutes and his judgments, the law unto Israel. Yasha Allah. The blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women. That's who the Lord showed it to.
Right.
Read on.
Okay. Verse 20. He hath not dealt so with any nation.
The Lord has not dealt so with any nation. The Lord has not dealt with the Arabs. He ain't dealt with the oppressor. Hasn't dealt with the Africans, the Asians, the East Indians, and the rest of these heathens. The Lord has only known the black man and woman, Latino man and woman, and First Nation man and woman. They're the only people the Lord has known. We were given these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because the thing is, what our people need to realize, if I could, let me get a little bit more of that white lady. Open show off the wop. Just a little bit of it. You know what I mean? Listen to black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. The Lord has only dealt with us. Meaning we cannot live the lifestyle of the oppressor. You can't be free, white, and 21. Why do you think Cardi B is regretting everything right now? Cardi B went on a you know what I mean? And it was sad to hear, man. Like I feel for her and Offset, her husband need to get fired, man. Because here's the thing. You out there performing for the oppressor, doing every evil and wicked thing, promoting homosexuality, promoting whoredom, promoting being an evil, wicked bitch and bastard, man. Right. Now she's like, I just want to be a mother. Put water, priest, I appreciate it. Now you just want to be a mother. Because America wears us out.
Right.
It does. Like, I don't think our people realize that, like, the oppressor wears blacks and Latinos out, man. Forget about it if you a First Nation man and woman or a Seminole Indian man and woman. We've been worn out, man, like an old rug. For real, man. Like, if I could, right? Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. This is the time to change. the oppressor is never going to love you. He's never going to change. He's never going to change. That's why it is essential to do what our God said to do. Yeah, I mean, did General Mayat go over that today in the show Ask You the Prophets? With Cardi B? No sign crazy than me. Big shout out to 12 show General Mayat Ka'ala and my brother, Priest and Officer 500 like Bob holding it down, Ask You the Prophets today, man. Let's speak on that a little bit more, might expound on what General Mayat, brought out. The sad thing about Cardi B is it ain't just her. A lot of our people feel that way. A lot of our people feel that way. You think, you can continue to push this evil. It's going to wear down on you eventually. Wow. Eventually. You can forget about it. If you Black, Latino, or First Nation, if you a sister, you ain't supposed to be a whore, man. Like, being a whore is supposed to be taboo. Like, did you know you're not supposed to be a whore, Black woman? Did you know that? If I could, let me get Deuteronomy. This is the law class, right? Let me get Deuteronomy, right? 23 and verse 17. Because the problem is, in America, they've made being a whore acceptable in America. As a matter of fact, they made it a profitable way of living. They did. They made being a whore or a whoremonger a profitable way of living. However, what does God say about being a whore? What does God say about being a whoremonger or a goddamn homosexual? Let me get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23 and verse 17. I know what America says. It's profitable in America to do those things. But what does the God of niggas say? The God of Latinos say? The God of First Nation men and women say? Okay. Deuteronomy 23 and verse 17.
Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy, 23 and verse 17. Mm-hmm. There shall be no more of the daughters of Israel.
Can you read that again slow? Because I want our women to understand this real quick, Bob. What you're getting ready to read is so heavy and so prevalent because our women think being a whore is the solution to the problems that we face.
Okay.
Read up.
There shall be no more of the daughters of Israel.
There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. Meaning this, Black woman, you were never meant to be a whore. Latina woman, you were never meant to be a whore. Seminole Indian and First Nation woman, you were never meant to be no goddamn whore. That should be taboo. Like, it should be absurd for them to tell you that, oh, it's all right to show your body. It's all right. It's liberating. Who the hell told you that? Who told you that flaunting your sexuality and flaunting your body for everybody to see was liberation? Who told you that? The oppressor. The devil that the Bible speaks of. When our God said there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. Meaning it should be beneath you if you're a Black, Latino, or First Nation. If you're a sister that's Black, Latino, or First Nation, it should be beneath you to be a whore. Right. It shouldn't be an option.
Right.
Read them.
Nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel.
You ain't supposed to be no goddamn homosexual neither, Black man, right. Latino man, First Nation man and woman. The Lord was very clear. You ain't supposed to be a sodomite neither. What does it mean to be a sodomite? To be a homosexual. You ain't supposed to be a homosexual. Right. Let the oppressor be a homosexual. If you look throughout history, right, all of the prominent, all of the prominent, cities and societies that were that were based on homosexuality were Egypt, Greece, Rome, where it ran rampant. Let the oppressor and the Africans be homosexuals. Right. Let the Asians, let the East Indians, let the Arabs, let them be homosexual. That should be beneath every Black, Latino, and First Nation man and woman. Right. Our God said there should be no whore of the daughters of Israel, and you ain't supposed to be a whoremonger neither. And you ain't supposed to be a lover of whores. The problem is, as Black and Latino and First Nation men, we love whores. We got to cut that garbage out, man. Right. We cut that out, guess what? It won't be no whores. Because our women naturally follow us anyway. You ain't supposed to give no whore the time of day, black man, Latino man, First Nation man. And sister, being a whore should be beneath you.
Right.
And you ain't supposed to be no goddamn sodomite neither. And I can expound on that a little bit more. Like, give me Leviticus 20 and 13, and then give me Romans 1 and 25.
Okay. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman.
If a man also lie with mankind, meaning this, if you are laying with a woman, right? If you lay with a man the way you lay with a woman, you are committing an abomination to our God. Because homosexuality is wrong. So, hey, Bob, somebody got to tell Dwayne Wade that. Somebody got to let him know. Somebody got to tell D Wade. Somebody got to tell his son, because it's still his son. Somebody got to tell Gabrielle Union that homosexuality is wrong.
Right.
If a man lie with mankind like he would lie with a woman, read on.
Both of them have committed an abomination.
Both of them have committed an abomination.
They shall surely be put to death.
They shall surely be put to death. Being a homosexual is a death penalty offense. It's worthy of death. And what you got to realize, man, you got demons on you if you're a homosexual. They said, you know what I mean, and since the 1970s, they since changed this. Homosexuality was diagnosed as a mental disease, as a mental disorder, as a mental disorder. Meaning that you got demons on you, man. You do.
Right.
It ain't you was born this way. God ain't make you no goddamn homosexual. God ain't make you no lesbian. That's nonsense, man. That is nonsense, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. God ain't make you that way. You wanted to be that way because of your lust. Or more than likely, 90% of you, the statistics show that you've been molested. And you're suppressing those thoughts. Because I understand you don't, and let me just say this, what your father or your uncle or your brother or your cousin or your mother or your aunt or your sister did to you was wrong. They were wrong for doing that to you. But you are wrong for doing that to fellow, you know what I mean, brothers and sisters, man. To perpetuate that same evil, man. Big shout out to 13, you know what I mean, the captain of 13,000 Cesaria, man. Because the Israelite school of UBK, we're the only ones that spoke out against child molestation. I think maybe and none of you conscious community cats, except for maybe one. I forget the brother's name who went out there with Captain Cesaria. Only one of y'all that went out there with our captain. But here's the thing, man. That brother got to come out of that Cometian mythology anyway and come back into this truth. Nobody gives a damn about our people that have been molested, that have suffered atrocious things, man, at the hand of Christianity and the Muslim mosque and the oppressor. But we champion these causes in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commander General Yohanna. Another problem is you seek, and let me just say this real quick, right? A lot of our people, right, you know what I mean, are part of the incel. A lot of our brothers, man, like it's a percentage of y'all that's part of the incel community. You know what I mean? May that brother Kevin Samuels rise again. Let me just say that. God will never glorify in the death of any of our people. He, like General Muhammad said, he died the same way the rest of our people died because he was a sinner. But too many of you brothers, man, took to that saying, oh, man, F these sisters because they ain't going to give me the time of day. The problem is, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, we have to put back on our strength. You can't just say, oh, forget them sisters. I ain't going to mess with them. You know what I mean? She turned me down. I had a brother tell me, oh, man, a sister wouldn't give me her name. F her, her kids, all this. And what I'm like, brother, you know how many women is out there? And then you got to realize this, our women are destroyed.
Right.
And best believe we tell our sisters that they are destroyed. But it starts with us, black man. We got to get right.
Right.
We get right, then we can correct them. And they hate that correction, I buy. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, you know what I mean, put some goddamn clothes on. Right. They don't want to hear, take care of your goddamn kids and shut your damn mouth when you're dealing with your man, your husband. Right. Because sex is marriage. But we got to get right first, black man. It's time for us to pull it on our strength and stop following after effeminate men. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man, you want to read it, you want to see some righteous men, look to the UPK. Some hardcore, you know what I mean, austere brothers. That's the UPK under Commander Gen.YAHANNA. The problem is, man, the reason why our brothers don't want to be in the Christian church is the Christian church is soft. Church is soft, man. Breeding homosexuals by the minute. I would say by the hour I buy, but it's by the goddamn minute.
Right.
They breeding the new sodomite. You got to come into the UPK and put on your strength, man. Where we breed strong black men, Latino men, and First Nation men in here. And righteous sisters too, man. That's what we bring up in here. You want to be, and that's the thing, man, like what our people have to realize, man, that we have been destroyed. The fact that we're looking to entertainers to lead us is a goddamn shame.
Right.
It's a shame that we're looking to sodomites to lead our people. No. There is righteous leadership on this earth, man. It's in the I.S.U.P.K under Commander Gen.YAHANNA. Now, if I could, let me get Romans, the 1st chapter, and the 25th verse.
Okay.
Let me get that. Y'all got any questions? Type them in. I'm answering y'all questions tonight. This is the biblical law class, the Wednesday night law class. Read on.
Okay. This is the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 25. Who changed the truth of God into a lie?
Who changed the truth of God into a lie? Who told us that homosexuality was an alternative way of living? Who told us that it was all right to eat shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster? Who told us because our women make more money than us that it's all right for them to be the head of household? Black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, we messed up here in the game, man. Let me explain something to y'all. The natural order is this, like it says in 1 Corinthians, man. God, Yahweh, is the head of Christ, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai, our king, and you know ignorantly is Jesus Christ, the head of man, and man is the head of woman. Doesn't matter how much money your woman make. And listen, man, if your wife make more money than you, that's a blessing, brother, for real.
Right.
You still the head of that household because you're her head.
Right.
You're her head. And a lot of these, you know what I mean, knucklehead sisters don't want to admit it, but they don't want a brother that they can just rule and dominate. They want a brother that's strong-willed, strong-minded, man, to rule over them. I pray you understand. Who changed the truth of God into a lie? Who told us that it was all right for our women to lead the household? Who told us that it was all right to be a homosexual? That it's all right to have an alternative way of living? Who told us that pork was the other white meat? The oppressor. Read on.
Okay. And worship and serve the creature more than the creator.
And worship and serve the creature more than the creator. How do you serve the creature more than the creator? I'll tell you how you do it. You worship and serve the creature, who is the oppressor, more than the creator, by holding dear to what the oppressor said. The oppressor told you pork was all right, you hold dear to him for it. The oppressor tells you, sister, it's all right to abort your baby to commit murder and mass genocide, 500,000 Black and Latino and First Nation babies a year, you hold dear to him.
Right.
Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the creator? You don't serve God, the creator, Yahweh. You want to serve your oppressor daddy. And that has to change. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. I pray you understand. Read on.
O God, who is blessed forever. Amen.
Read on.
Verse 26. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affection.
For this cause God gave them up into vile affection. What is vile affection? What does it mean to be vile? Vile is something disgusting, revolting.
Right.
Something that is just nasty on a different level.
Right.
To vile affections. Read them.
O God, for even their women did change the natural use.
Now, what does it mean when the women change their natural use? Now you got sisters turn into other women. Now you're dealing with homosexuality, lesbianism. But wait a minute, I thought the Lord was only against that in the Old Testament. That's why, and I'm going to read this precept for you. This is the book of Romans, chapter 15, in verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
Right.
Meaning this, the Old Testament is still valid. And I'm going to go into that a little later. The law is not done away with, which I will go into.
Right.
It's here forever. But read on, Ibad.
Oh God. Into that which is against nature.
What is that which is against nature that our sisters do? Now you want to be get ready to say a word I can't say. Now you think it's all right to lay with another woman? You think it's all right for you to have a relationship with another woman where you can have two? Where it's so evil in America, it's all right for that sister or that little brother to say, I got two mommies. No, the hell you don't. Somebody, I got two daddies. No, you don't. You got one father and one mother. I pray you understand. Read on.
Oh God. Verse 27. And likewise, also the men.
Now, read that again where it says, unto vile affections for even their women.
Oh God. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections.
Something that's disgusting, something revolting, something evil. Read on.
For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature.
Into that which is against nature. Now you don't want a black man no more. You don't want to ride. You want another woman. And here's the sad part I buy. You still crave ride. That's why you be at those stores. You be at those establishments, those sex shops, looking for plastic rides. When sis, why don't you go get the real thing?
Right.
From a black man, a Latino man, a First Nation man. Court that brother. That's another problem, man. Courtship is damn near dead in the world, but very much alive in the UPK because we have a 1-year rule.
Right.
Where you have to understand, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman, we got to learn to walk 4 seasons with one another. We got to learn to walk a year with each other, to get to know each other, man, before we can have intercourse, sexual intercourse, sex. Because sex is marriage according to God.
Right.
If you can do that, we'll be in better shape. But you going against that nature, black, Latino, and First Nation woman. You want to be with that other woman. You want to go get that plastic rod I buy, that cold plastic. Not realizing that we got the real thing that's warm. And it goes to show you, man, how evil it is that they push this on our people. Read on, I buy. Not just the women. Read on.
Verse 27. And likewise, also the men.
Also who?
The men.
Now, also the men. Brother, now you looking at Tyree and Tyrone. You're looking at Jeff, which is evil as can be. It's an evil thing what Dwayne Wade is doing with his son. Dwayne Wade talking about, oh, when I was young, I used to wear my mom and my sister's clothes and shoes. That's why you are homosexual now. That's why you messed up now.
Right.
You ain't supposed to do that, man. And when you see your child doing that, if you have a son and your son want to put on his mom or sister's shoes, let him put on your boots.
Right.
Let him put on your sneakers, man. Let them know that that's what girls wear. Don't put on mommy or your sister or your aunt or your mom or that stuff. Put on my shoes, man. Wear my stuff. Put on something masculine. They got the nerve to tell us that, oh, your masculinity is toxic. Toxic masculinity is good, goddammit. Explain why that's good. Because our boys need to realize there ain't nothing wrong with being a masculine black man, right, a masculine Latino man, a masculine First Nation man. Right. But now you want to go, to quote Kevin Samuels, to get a high value man. That's the problem. That's the problem. You can't do that, black man. You better go get with that black woman. As fine as our sisters is, like that's what I don't understand. Right. Black and Latina and First Nation women are the finest women on this earth, man. Right. But you want to go get another man? Or just as bad, you want to go get with the oppressor's daughter or an African or an Asian? That ain't no different than homosexuality to me. Right. And to God. Read on.
Oh God. Leaving the natural use of the woman.
Now you're leaving the natural use of the woman. Now you don't want to be with that sister no more. You want to be a homosexual. Now you're dressing like her. You're dressing like the women now. And they push this all throughout America. Forget about it if you go to San Francisco or Atlanta. It's prevalent there. But they're forcing this everywhere. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. They don't want us to be masculine no more. It's just they don't want you to be feminine no more. Read on.
Okay. Burn in their lust, one toward another.
Now you're burned with your lust one towards another. You're looking at another man with lust when you're not supposed to, man. That's evil according to God. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man. Read on.
Men with men, working that which is unseemly.
Men with men working that which is unseemly. This is in the New Testament too, by the way. In Romans, the 1st chapter in the 25th verse. Something that is unseemly. Something that is revolting and disgusting. Something that shouldn't even be. Homosexuality, man. You ain't supposed to be no homosexual black man and woman. Latino man and woman. First Nation man and woman. Read on.
Okay. Receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet.
And receiving in themselves that recompense of their error that is in men, because we are in error. You are in error if you are homosexual, man. You are error if you are lesbian. You ain't supposed to live like that. Why? Because our God said so. And I broke that down in the so-called Old and New Testament.
Right.
But the problem is the Christian church makes being a homosexual acceptable. It's damn near the standard nowadays if you go into the Christian church. Because everybody on the choir is a homosexual. Everybody, including the pastor.
Right.
You can't live like that. And why? I'll show you why. Let me get the book of Matthew, right? As a matter of fact, while we in the book, let me get the book of Matthew, chapter 5, and verse 17.
Okay.
Let me get Matthew, the 5th chapter, and the 17th verse. Because it goes against God's law, statutes, and commandments. But some of y'all think, oh, you die. Christ came and did away with the law. Christ said that I ain't got to keep the law no more. I can be a homosexual. No, you cannot.
Right.
That's not what our king said. Let me show you what our king said. These words are written in red, meaning Yahushua is speaking. Christ is speaking. Read Matthew, the 5th chapter, and the 17th verse. Show it, bud.
This is the book of Matthew, 5, verse 17. Think not that I've come to destroy the law.
Christ said, think not. Meaning this, don't even put it in your simple ass mind, salakia for my language, that I have come to destroy the law. Why is Christ saying that? You don't even want it in your head, in your mind. Think not that I have come to destroy the law. Read on.
Or the prophets.
Who are the prophets? Who are the prophets? The prophets of God are the priests and officers in the Israelite school of universal practical knowledge under commanding General Yohanna. We are the priests and prophets of God. Farrakhan is not a prophet. Pastor Ruffin's not a prophet. Geno Jennings, T.D. Jakes, Nasty Nate, and whoever your fake Israelite leaders are, they are not prophets of God. The prophets of God are here. The prophets of God, the priests and prophets are here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under command of General Yohanna. Read on.
I have not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Christ said, I've not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Meaning Christ came to not to destroy the law, but to show us how it's done. How we're supposed to keep it. How we're supposed to live our lives. Christ was that example. Read on.
One jot or one tittle.
Now, nevertheless, not one jot. For verily I say unto you, till heaven or earth pass. Meaning this, read that again from the top. Matthew chapter 5, verse 18.
For verily I say unto you.
For verily, meaning for surely I say unto you. Read on.
Till heaven and earth pass.
Is heaven and earth still here? Are we still walking on this earth?
Right.
I can look up and see the heaven. I see the sky.
Right.
Is that not still here? For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, heaven and earth is still here, by the way. Read on.
One jot or one tittle,
Meaning the dotting of an I and the crossing of the T. That is the one jot or one tittle. Read on.
shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
What does that mean? Shall not pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Let me get Baruch, the 4th chapter and the 1st verse. This is what we have to realize as God's chosen people. This law ain't going nowhere. It's not going nowhere. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. And that's part of the problem, because you think because you go to church and you're Muslim mosque that you don't have to keep the law no more. When Christ said to himself, to not one jot, one tittle shall no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth is still here. Meaning the law is here to stay. And I'm going to give you the precept. I'm going to give Baruch the 4th chapter and the 1st verse.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 1.
Wait.
This is the book of the commandments of God.
This is the book of the commandments of God. Meaning this. When it says this is the book of the commandments of God, meaning this book right here, we reading out of in Baruch, and for those that say, oh, you reading that out the Apocrypha. This Apocrypha, right, was taken out. It was taken out. And why? Because of scriptures like this. Like they took the books of the Apocrypha out, you know what I mean? But here's the thing. When the King James Bible first came out, the 1611, this Apocrypha was in it. And listen, and Jeremiah told Baruch to make record of this, man. Hey, shalom. So y'all watch him. So like, sir, do you went to class? You got to understand this, man. You're too busy trying to say, oh, man, that ain't in the Bible. And the Apocrypha is part of the goddamn Bible, man. This is the book of the commandments of God. Read on.
Of God. And the law that endureth forever.
That the law that what?
Endureth forever.
The law that endured forever. Meaning these laws, statutes, and commandments ain't go nowhere. And they not going nowhere. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, it says the law that endureth forever. So for the law to be done away with, you're saying that the Lord is a liar. That's a rough one, I buy. You're saying right. God is a liar.
Right.
Like, and that's the audacity that Christians have today and the arrogance. When the Lord said this law was going to endure forever.
Right.
The precept is in Jeremiah, man, where the law was going to be put in our inward parts, in our mind on that day. Right. Where you won't even think about disobeying the Lord. You got to go out of your way to sin. And you ain't going to be able to do that. You ain't even going to be able to do that. Because here's the thing, man. This law is going to endure forever. Like black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, that's why it's important to come into these classes now. To come back into the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Because what you don't realize, right, as the scriptures say in Proverbs, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man. But those ways are the ways of death. And not just the physical death. As a matter of fact, I read on. We in the perfect precept for that. Read on, read on.
All they that keep it shall come to life.
If you keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments, you come to life. You come to life, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. And here's the thing. I know y'all like to say, oh, YOLO, I'm living my best life. Here's the problem. Saying you only live once, you come back. And I brought this out in the previous class, did I not? I brought this out last Tuesday, the previous Tuesday class that I taught. And I can expound on it a little bit more if you need me to. When you die, you come back. Right. And depending on how you live, you might come back in a worse situation than you was already in. Why not come back to life? Life is keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. This is Baruch, the 4th chapter, in the 1st verse. All they that keep it shall come to life. You think you living your best life being a whore. being a whoremonger, being a murderer, aborting your baby, being a liar, smoking weed and selling drugs, man. You're not living life. You're spiritually dead inside. But when you come back to doing what God says to do, when you come into the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, you come to life. You come to life, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. Read on.
Okay. But such as leave it shall die.
But such as leave it, if you leave God's law, statutes, and commandments, you die. Not just the physical death that happens to our people, but you're spiritually dead. We're spiritually dead right now as a people because you're not doing what God says to do. We're not doing what the Lord said to do. That's why it's essential and important to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, man. For all they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. When you stop keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of God, you're dead spiritually. Our people right now are so affected and so afflicted and upset, you know what I mean, where you don't even realize that the key, you know what I mean, to changing your life for the better is doing what our God said to do and keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. Where you think you think some zombie apocalypse is gonna happen when you gotta fear the walking dead. When our people is the walking dead, man. We are the walking dead. Why? Because you're not doing what God said to do. You're spiritually dead. But you can be alive. You can be born again. You got to let that old man die and come back. Let that old man die with Christ and change your life for the better. I pray you understand. Go back to Matthew, Go to Matthew 5 and verse 19.
This is the book of Matthew, 5 and verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments.
Now, this is talking about your pastor, your imam, or you. Whosoever shall break one of these least commandments. You may think smoking weed is small. You may think aborting your baby is small. You may think being a liar is small, but guess what? Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments. Read on.
And shall teach men so.
And shall teach men so. Because don't they do that in the Christian church? Don't they tell us that it's all right to abort your baby? To commit mass genocide, to think about your career? They do that in the Christian church and the Muslim mosques. Therefore, who shall break? It says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 19, whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, read on.
And shall teach men so.
And shall teach men so, because T.D. Jakes is teaching our people, blacks and Latinos, to break God's law. Geno Jennings is teaching our people to break God's law. So is your fake Israelite leader masquerading in that purple like his oppressor daddy. And all of your fake Israelite groups, guess what? Read on.
He shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
They shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Why? Because they're not doing what our God said to do. Once again, I'm in the so-called New Testament for you Christians watching. I'm in Matthew the 5th chapter and the 19th verse. It says, and whosoever shall therefore break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. That's self-explanatory. You're going to be least in the kingdom of God. Read on.
But whosoever shall do and teach them.
But whosoever shall do and teach them. If you're going to do and teach these laws, statutes, and commandments, man, if you're going to do what God says to do, coming into the I.S.U.P.K under Commander GEN.YAHANNA, guess what? Read on.
The same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
Let me tell you something, man. I.S.U.P.K is going to be called great in the kingdom of heaven, man. Commanding GEN.YAHANNA is going to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. The priests and prophets of God in the Israelite school of UPK are going to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Why? Because we teach our people to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments, man. Where your pastor doesn't. Your fake Israelite leader or imam, they don't. We teach our people to keep these laws. And we keep the laws ourselves. selves. I pray you understand. But another misconception that I want to break down for you. Let me get Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. Because here's something that your grandma might say to you, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, or woman, that your simple mama might say. But I'm saved by the grace, baby. I got grace. When our people don't understand what grace is, like I buy, they have no clue what grace is.
Right.
Like you think, oh, I got grace. I'm good, baby. I'm saved. No, the hell you not. And it's an arrogant thing to say. And let me tell you why. Read on. Bringing out these milk scriptures for you tonight because a lot of our people don't understand them.
Right.
You don't understand the milk. That's why the scripture said, man, that you have to be, in Hebrews, you got to learn again and be weaned. You know what I mean? Of milk.
Right.
I wouldn't give steak to a baby and expect him to eat it now. You got to get this milk first.
Right.
You got to understand this first. Let me get Romans chapter 6 and verse 1, I bet.
This book, Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin?
Now, what shall we say then? Paul is like, shall we continue in sin? Should we continue eating shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster? Being whores and whoremongers and murderers, man? Read on.
That grace may abound.
That grace may abound? Because we got the grace of God, baby. We all right. Isn't that what your mama say? Isn't that what your grandmama say? Isn't that what your homosexual pastor say? Paul is asking the question. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Read on.
God forbid.
God forbid. What does it mean, God forbid? No. You can't do that. We cannot live like that. You cannot continue in sin and let grace abound. God forbid. You want to know why? Drop down to Romans 6 and verse 15. But you got to realize this. What is grace, by the way? If I'll give an example, right? For those of you that live in Pennsylvania, if you are behind on your PICO, if you are behind on your PICO electric bill, like myself, by the way, understand this. You have a grace period to pay that bill.
Right.
Guess what? In that period, you got to pay that bill or they're going to cut your lights off. You don't pay that bill, that's it, Slice. You want to pay that bill? What I'm saying is this. Christ ain't dying so you can continue to abort your baby to commit mass genocide, Latino, First Nation, and Black woman. Christ ain't died so you can continue to sell drugs and smoke weed yourself and crack and tobacco. Christ ain't died so you can continue to be an evil, wicked liar and monster to our people, man. He ain't died for that. Read Romans chapter 6 and verse 15.
This is Romans, the 6th and verse 15. What then? Shall we sin?
Now, what then? Shall we sin? Shall we continue to sin? Like Romans 6 and 1 says. What then? Shall we sin? Read on.
Because we are not under the law.
Because we're not under the law. The pastor says we're not under the law. Read on.
But under grace.
Shall we sin because we're not under the law, but under grace? Ain't that what your mama say? Oh, I got the grace of Christ, baby. I'm good. I walk in the path of Jesus. Ain't that what they say in the Christian church? What shall we say then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Read on.
God forbid.
God forbid. You're not supposed to sin because sin is transgression of the law, Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. And we just read it. The law is here to endure forever.
Right.
Whosoever shall keep it shall come to life. Meaning, if you're a Black, Latino, or First Nation man and woman who the law was given to, like we read in Psalms 147, verse 19 and 20, we come to life when we keep these laws. When we die spiritually and physically. When we don't do it, when we don't keep God's law. It says, what shall we say then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid. God forbid. And what you got to realize, there is a heavy penalty for sinning.
Right.
A heavy penalty. Drop down to verse 23. Read Romans chapter 6 and verse 23, I bet.
Verse 23. For the wages of sin is death.
What is wage? The wage, the amount, the cost, the penalty, the violation, like Captain Soccer Ward would say. When I was a young man in this class. Big shout out to Captain 10,000 Soccer Ward, man. I remember being a young man in his class, him breaking this down to me. And he broke this down, man, so heavily. For the wages of sin, the sin is the cost, the amount, the violation. Like I need you to understand something heavy. When you sin, you violate God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Like if somebody does you dirty, it's the end of the world, right, Ibad? If somebody does you wrong, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, it feels like somebody violated you. That's how our God feels when we disobey him and not keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Read on. For the wages of sin is death. Read on.
But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord.
What is, and that's so heavy too. It's just, but the gift of God, the gift, what is the gift? The gift is this. The gift is this, that we get eternal life through Yahweh Shah Mashiach, our Lord. Meaning this, Christ died so we can come back to our God. Christ ain't died so you can continue to be no homosexual or murderer, committing abortions, being a liar, smoking weed or anything, being a liar. No, Christ died so we can come back to our Father. That's the gift of God. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. And that's what we have to realize, man. That's what makes these laws, statutes, and commandments so important. Now, if I could, Bob, let me get 1 Timothy 1 and 9. Because the law was made, man. Let me show you who the law was made for. You know why you don't have to tell Ibad to not smoke weed? Why you don't have to tell, you know what I mean, myself? Or why you don't got to tell Commander GEN.YAHANNA, well, you know, the scripture say, yeah. I'll tell you why. Read 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 9.
This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9.
Go ahead.
Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man.
The law was not made for a righteous man. What does that mean where it says the law was not made for a righteous man? Meaning this. When it says the law is not made for a righteous man, the righteous man knows to keep the law, statutes, and commandments.
Wow.
The righteous man knows he can't smoke weed. The righteous man knows he can't, you know what I mean, commit murder. The righteous sister knows she can't abort her baby. The righteous man knows he can't sell drugs or be an evil, wicked bastard or liar. For knowing this, right? The law is not made for a righteous man. Read on.
But for the lawless.
But for the lawless. You think you lawless. You think the laws of God don't apply to you, black man, Latino man, First Nation man, and woman. You got another thing coming. Read on.
And disobedient.
And the who?
Disobedient.
For the disobedient. The law was made for the lawless and the disobedient. Those of us blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women disobey God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Read on.
For the ungodly.
For the ungodly. Read on.
And for sinners.
Mm-hmm.
For unholy and profane. For murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers.
Mm-hmm.
For manslayers.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 10. For whoremongers.
Mm-hmm.
For them that defile themselves with mankind.
For they that defile themselves with mankind. For the whoremongers, man. For the sinners, the ungodly, the profane, the murderers, man. For the murderers of fathers and mothers. Who's that describing? I bet it's talking about me. I bet it's talking about you. That is who I was before I came into this truth. That ain't who I am now. Now I'm a righteous man. Right. You can be a righteous man or a righteous woman, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. I pray you understand. That's what makes the law so important. Now, if I could, it is a spiritual battle. I will say that. Let me get Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. Cardi B is understanding that too. One thing that Cardi B is understanding, because she was saying, you know what I mean, that she just wants to be a mother. She don't want to do all that wickedness no more. A lot of our people feel that way. But what we have to realize that the Lord's chosen people is this. Read Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12.
Okay. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
You're not just wrestling against your flesh and blood. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Read on.
But against principalities.
Against principalities. Against governments, man. That's the principalities. Read on.
Against powers.
Against powers. You wrestling against governments. You wrestling against, you know what I mean, the governments and leaderships of the oppressor and these evil, wicked nations, man. Read on.
Against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
The rulers of the darkness of this world, the oppressor. You're wrestling against the devil that the Bible speaks of, the oppressor. You're fighting against him. They're pushing homosexuality. They're pushing abortions. They're pushing that you can be an evil, wicked monster, man. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against the rulers of darkness, against the darkness of this world. Read on.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places. The spiritual wickedness in high places, man, the high government of America, the high leadership of the oppressor in his societies, man. We can't do that. That's why in verse 13 it says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. How do you take on that whole armor? That you be able to stand? By coming into this truth, man. By coming into the I.S.U.P.K under Command of GEN.YAHANNA and changing your life, man. If I can get two more precepts like Bob, we can end the class. Give me Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Let me show you what we got to do as the Lord's chosen people. Let me show you the duty of every Black, Latino, and First Nation man and woman. Ecclesiastes chapter, the 12th chapter and the 13th verse, if I could, priest.
Okay. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
This is the conclusion of the whole matter. A lot of our people as Blacks and Latinos and First Nation, I've heard this question before. You wonder, what is the end game? What do we have to do to succeed as Blacks, Latinos, and First Nation men and women? Read on.
Okay. Fear God.
Fear God. That is the number one thing. Fear the Lord. Fear Yahweh. The problem is you fear the oppressor. You fear America. You fear these evil, wicked nations. But you need to fear the God of Israel.
Right.
Yahweh. That's who needs to be feared. Read on.
And keep his commandments.
And what?
And keep his commandments.
And keep his commandments. Keeping the law and statutes and commandments of God. That's what we have to do. Read on.
For this is the whole duty of man.
This is the whole duty of man. When it says the whole duty of man, the whole duty of that Black man and woman, the whole duty of that Latino man and woman, and that whole duty of that First Nation man and woman. Now, I'll close with this scripture. Read Revelation chapter 14 and verse 12, priest.
Oh God. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 14 and verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the patience of the saints.
Here is the patience of the saints. We are the saints, Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. Read on.
Oh God. Here are they that keep the commandments of God.
Here are they that keep the commandments of God. Read on. I mean, to keep all these laws, statutes, and commandments. We're in the book of Revelations. We're in the New Testament. Here are they that keep the commandments of God. Read on.
And the faith of Jesus.
And the faith of Jesus. For this, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. For you so-called Old Testament Israelites, you can't just keep the law, statutes, and commandments. You got to have faith in Yahweh Shai as well. For you silly Black and Latino and First Nation Christians out there, guess what? You have that. Not just have faith in Christ, Yahweh Shai Mashiach. You have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. That is the whole duty of man. And with that being said, this is the Wednesday night biblical law class. I'm priest and officer of 1000 Yediah. Make sure you tune into every Monday night. Command and General Yohanna every Monday night. Black Watch News, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Command and General Yohanna breaking it down heavy, man. Tune in to Commander General Yohanna tonight, man. Wednesday night. He go live on Wednesdays now too, Israel. Wednesday night from 9 p.m. to whenever, to 11 p.m. That also tuned in to Ashley the Prophet every Wednesday, you know what I mean, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. with 12 show General Mayak Allah. General Mayak break it down so heavily, man. Ashley the Prophet. If you got a question on your life or in the Bible or whatever, ask General Mayak, Ashley the Prophet, send it to Ashley the Prophets at Gmail, you know what I mean, or DM us at Ashley the Prophets, you know what I mean, on Facebook. Go ahead, bud.
General Mayak Allah is going to be on Inconvenient Truth tonight.
Also, big shout out to 12 show General Mayaka Allah, man. He's going to be on the Head in Truth with Officer of 5,000, my big brother Kazak Yad, man. I mean, our I.S.U.K right brother Kazak Yad, man, bringing out heavy every Wednesday night, man. General Mayaka is going to be a special guest on there tonight. Tune in every Monday morning, man. The Letter Hebrew Speak with 12 show General Hazayan from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. If not General Hazayan, 6 show General Katham Gabal, or Officer of 5,000, my big brother, Priest and Officer of 5,000, Marah, or Priest and Officer of 500, my brother, man, Ibai Hayat. Tune in, you know what I mean, to Cross the Line Radio with Captain Zaria, Captain Kataza every Thursday night from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Tune in to my big brother, Captain of 13,000, Gadal Hall. My big brother, Captain of 10,000, Cornwall Hall. My brother, man, Priest and Officer of 5,000, you know what I mean, Double One. And my brother, Officer of 500, Karatazad, you know what I mean, One West Radio. With that being said, I'm going to pass the class off to Priest and Officer of 500, Ibad Hayat.
The priest and officer is I of 1,000, a strong, powerful hand. Teaching a powerful class. Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge Security Announcements. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohanna. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shape themselves in the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, found in the book of Numbers, 18, verse 21. The book of Malachi, 3, verse 8 through 10. Ma'asha means tenth in Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, gives the treasury department. Priest funds. We will offer for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you will like. Upcoming holy convocations is the Feast of First Fruits. Starts after the Sabbath of unleavened bread. Sundown, Saturday, April 23rd, 2022. Count 50 days. Celebrate the 50th day. Sunday, June 12th, 2022. Start before sundown. Found in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verses 10 through 22. Remind Akim and Akwaf Yun to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anybody wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, headband, and scarf. With that, imagine, which means to stand.
Yeah, we accept the Lord's Prayer.
We're going to Sar Lapanu Hakudam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to set up the Lord's Prayer in the Ibaria or the Hebrew. Abinau. Shabbat Shemayim. Kodash. Hayah. Shebka. Yahweh. Malakuka. Taba'ah. Azayaka. Hayah. Aisha. Ma'aratiza. Kawok. Hayah. Hashemayim. Lathananau. Lacham. Ka. Yawak. Wasalak Lanau. Kabawaf now. Kasalak now. Kabawaf Yanau. Wala'ah. Tabi'ayah on the side one. Above. I was shy now. Mayun. Ra. Kaya. Lakka. Malakwa. Wala'ala. Kapara. Aman. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. So be it. Sorry. With that, we turn. Also, we raising up funds for Philly's school van. So if you would like to donate to the school band for Philly, we'll greatly appreciate it. And with that, yes, Savi, since this means to be seated. Men of Israel, we'll give one person salute. Men of Israel, Imam Shabbat. Imagine. Barak.
Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barak Thumb.
Yajutah, which means hands down, Sar, we turn face to sisters. Sisters, you Imagine, which means to stand. Sisters, Yahweh Shabbat, is your head bowed and covered, your feet connected at a 45-degree angle, and your right hand claps over your left. When we salute you, you salute us back. Men of Israel, we will give the sisters one person salute. Men of Israel, Imam Shabbat. Imagine. Barak.
Yahweh Shemar Al Thumb by Shem Yahushua.
That's your top. Hands down. Clap to Smith.